Hello, you wonderful people, and welcome to another episode of Not Too Comic Book. This being a show where I talk about TV shows that are adaptations of comic books. For today's episode, I'm going to talk about Mob Psycho 100, Season 3, Episode 5. Another great episode. A lot of really interesting things went down in this episode, so let's break it down. So we're picking up with Mob entering the broccoli, and he's talking to Dimple. And he's making his way through, and he's kind of like, right, like, I've gotten so powerful, and talking about, like, basically going on about, trying to give him, the very religious cult sell of, like, why you should be a part of this, be a part of something more. Like, the fact is, reminding him that he's the only one by himself, because everyone else has kind of found this happiness in this union. Why are you trying to destroy that? Why are you trying to disrupt that? And the issues that could kind of come about from that. It's interesting, too, because when you actually think about Dimple bringing that up, Dimple is trying to, bring Mob to realize you're an outsider again, which is something Mob was for so long. And it only took over the course of this series for him to have a group of friends around him to finally, literally 2 episodes ago thinking he was super popular. But now it's a thing of like, yeah, he has friends around him. He's not as alone as he used to be. And now Dimple's trying to push Mob more on their side, but being like, look, you're alone again. Why are you going to like go through life alone? Trying to pull a little bit of a Mogami too, because remember when Mogami threw him into that world, he was like, yo, everyone here, their personalities are the same. I haven't changed anything. This is just, the only thing that's changed is, hey, you have no powers and how that affected the rest of your life. And Dimple knows Mob enough to try and poke at his weaknesses like that, But for Mob, the entire time he's climbing up, which I think kind of speaks volumes about Mob. Like, obviously, he didn't use his powers to climb the broccoli. He's doing it by hand and stuff, taking his time. I mean, Mob always does. Mob's never been the flashy type of like, yeah, I'm going to do this, unless he's in the heat of battle. He doesn't really use his powers because he's trying to, like, remain calm. He's trying to restrain himself. He just wants to talk and understand what this all is. And so he goes and finds Teru is like stuck in the wall and stuff. And it's like, yeah, everyone's succumbed to all this except for Teru. He tried to like, fight back a little bit. And it's like, right, he's not dead. I haven't had control of him, but we find out later on he totally has control over Teru. Once again, trying to say, like, none of these people are being brainwashed. They're still themselves. It's like, right, you could still be with your friends. You can be with Reagan. You can be with Ritsu, with your family. Like, you don't have to worry about stuff like them not being themselves. They still are themselves. Because Dimple refuses to see the larger issue here. Because for him, it's like, as long as one's happy and I get to be the power, like, I get to be a god and stuff, why does it matter? But for Mob, it's like, you're taking away people's free will. But then Dimple tries to say, well, mankind has these laws and regulations that are, you just accept them as societal norms and you don't have a problem with them. But like, all of a sudden, I come here and I'm doing this. It's like, it's different. Because Mob even says, when you want people to be the way you want them to be, it's like if they don't fall in line with what you want, you're brainwashing them and trying to fold them in, just like you're trying to do to Mob right now. So it's there. He's trying to make it seem like, yes, I'm a god, I'm a beloved god, I'm giving a free will thing, but it's like, no, you're taking away free will. Yeah, their personalities might be the same, but it's like, how could they ever really be themselves while under your control? Like. Because I'm sure it's the same BS that Dimple fed himself back in episode 3 at the beginning of the series, like the reason why he made that cult. But it was all, self-serving. He wants to try and pretend like there's an altruistic side to this. It's like, no, you're just trying to give an excuse and justify your actions when at the end of the day, this is you wanting power, trying to fill some void inside of yourself, and... whereas Mob has kind of filled that void with friendship and this and that. You were kind of heading in that direction, and now you've pulled away because you're like, no, I need to latch onto this power because if I don't have this, I don't have anything. This is what I wanted. And it's just like why that's so important to him. It's also what Mob's trying to understand. Why do all this? What is this all about? He also explained how the whole process worked. Like, right, he just like, first I had to basically get people to consume the brainwashing through like the candies, the parfaits, the cookies, yada, yada, yada. Then he said, like, those who didn't immediately jump in, I basically had those who were already in my control kind of basically speak more and more. It's like basically a mass influence of like, right, when a large group of people start talking about it and you see all the happiness and stuff like that of someone like kind of berating you about the psycho helmet religion, it starts seeping into their brains, kind of accepting them. And it's kind of like, yeah, that's what happened with Regan. That's how I was able to get Regan. He's like, because when the moment they went into that room that Risu led them to, and all those other people were around, it started affecting Regan at that point. And that's why it seemed like out of nowhere to affect him. Because I had said, like, maybe the closer they were getting to the divine tree was it starting to have an effect, but it's like, no. Now it's spreading more like a virus, like it's contagious now, where it's just like, now it's to the point just like everyone is getting affected. It's spreading out like that. And so Dimple is trying his best to not only use Teru to fight Mob, which Mob can kind of defeat him, but Dimple is able to fuse some power into him, and Teru's attack sends him deeper down the roots, and the roots are around him, and Mob feels it. He's like, these are dangerous, and he's telling Teru to get away, and he unleashes his power and sends Teru flying. The part where Teru is like, wow, you're amazing. I don't know if that's him. Once again, they're supposed to maintain some of themselves, so that might be like that's either Teru while still under the control of Dimple saying that, and that's meant, some of Teru's, mind always thinking like, wow, you're amazing, Mob. Or maybe that was a little bit of just like Teru just breaking through, being like, that's amazing. I'd assume he's still under Dimple's control because he gets flown away and Dimple closes the place back up and the two of them duke it out. Mob is slashing through every clone body, but at the same time he's asking Dimple, like, yo, come out here now. Like, why won't you face me? And he even says this line where he's like, are you scared of me? And I think that is the thing. Well, we find out later on he was kind of biding his time until, like, I'm not going to confront you until I'm in a position where I know I'm stronger than you. But I was wondering if he was legitimately scared to actually face Mob, because he's done all this, because he didn't even never directly face Teru either. So it's easier to kind of use all these fake mobs to kind of confront them and talk through them and talk to his mind, because he's not even talking as himself. He's talking as his fake voice he's concocted to be like Mob when he's talking to Mob. So it's like, there is a little bit of like, I kind of don't want to face reality, so I'm going to use all this to kind of like stay in my delusion a little bit. But problem is that Mob starts eventually getting worn down the more Dimple's sending his way, just because, he's tiring himself out. And that's something Dimple brings up later on. He's like, I've been around you enough. I've seen the maximum strength you can unleash. And he's thinking about like when Mob fought against Suzuki last season. He's like, yes, I saw you push yourself to the limit. So he's like, I know what you're fully capable of. And he's like, I see, even against Mogami almost beat you. Well, he did. You like almost got defeated by him. So we're like, I know the limits of your powers. But once again, whatever that question mark thing is, which we never saw a real surfacing of it. Well, I was about to say we did, because we saw it like a little bit in episode 8 come out, but also like in his fight with Mogami it came out. But like every time like the question mark things ever happened, Dimple has never been around. When it gets to fight with Teru in season 1, that Mogami fight, like Dimple had already left, and even a little bit of it creeped out, but he was able to rein it back in episode 8, well 8/9. But Dimple's never really seen that. He's only seen Mob go to 100%, and he thinks that's all there is. There is potentially more. We'll see whether or not the question mark situation surfaces in the next episode, or whether we see it like properly get unleashed. Because that fight with Teru is like the only time we've seen it properly unleashed into like but I mean, even that section of the fight was still fairly short and one-sided, but still. Because it turns out the entire time that Mob has been here, Dimple is siphoning away his power, and it's like, cool, because of that, you didn't even realize this is all going on. And Dimple used his opportunity to present himself to Mob, and he says, like, right. He tries to tell Mob, it's like, you're going up against the masses, you'll be all alone again. He's like, fine, if you won't listen to me, how about I get Tsubomi to chime in? And it's like, he's like, you have zero chances with her. He's like, when it came to Tsubomi, he's like, nothing I ever did worked on her. Like, whether it was like, food from strangers, she slapped it away. Friends, no. No one's influence affected her because he's like, Tsubomi is very steadfast in her own beliefs and stuff. And it's like, that girl will never need you and she will never accept you, but you work with me and we become the heads of this whole thing. Because Mob even said like, right, if you got all this power, why do you need me? He's like, well, I know that in the future you could be an obstacle, so it's like, right, might as well nip that in the bud, let's work together. But trying to yet again use what he knows about Mob, it's like everything Mob does has always been for the purpose of like building himself up so he could eventually ask Tsubomi out. It's like, she will never accept you no matter how shredded you get. Like, she's never going to need you. But it's like the moment you become the head of this psycho religion that she's now a part of, then that's going to make it a little easier, which is the same mentality. I mean, it's understandable because Dimple was there when Masato tried to present that same very point to him. Like, everyone's tried to, you know. But Tsubomi's name being brought up and her being used in that regard pissed him off. Because it's also like, right, it's not going to be like, if anything happens between me and Tsubomi, rejected or not, I'm still going to put myself out there and I want it to be honest. That is kind of where I'm curious by the end of this. Will Tsubomi him actually even date or whatever? It's like, probably not. She might end up rejecting him and just like, let's just stay friends. I could easily see that be the thing, but it's just a matter of, I want it to be between us. And if you're mixed into it, how could ever like take what Tsubomi wants as real? Because you will push her to be with me. And it's like, that's not what I want. So, but it's like, yeah, Dimple's like, yeah, like, you don't stand a chance against me. And then Ma proceeds to like slap him repeatedly and slam him all around. And it's like, yeah, even with everything, he's like, right, you still have this much power left. So he enters his gold form, which I thought was so interesting. And I love that he kind of pulls a little bit of a, obviously the person I immediately think of is like Luffy. Every time, like, you know, when he like uses like all his, like, obviously the gum of it all, but also like his when he goes gear second, all his techniques have jet in front of it, so it kind of reminded me of that. But even with all that he did, I mean, my favorite attack, which is, once again, it's just always, you always feel a little like, ugh, knowing once again, this show does something different where it's just like, there are plenty of animes where kids are getting beat up, but I don't know what it is. Like, there's always something like, ugh, kind of unnerving about like the way everyone gets beat up in this particular anime. Just kind of like, ugh, it seems more brutal. But like, especially that, what was it, gold, or was it like, no, it was God Sandbag or whatever, when he was just like slammed him into that tree and just like started like barrage punching him like a sandbag. I was like, Jesus. But despite everything, Mob wasn't going down. And the fact is, Dimple's like, what? Like, he still had this much power left. And he's like, Dimple, I want to know, like, I'd almost given up on you. But the fact is that I want to know is, tell me how you really feel. Because he's like, all of this is just like a fraud, a fake. You're presenting something that's not who you are. And he uses the God beam on him, but it doesn't kill him. He's like, yo, it almost killed me. But he's like, I'll kind of end this. And it's like, you know, you have Dimple being pissed, like, don't talk like you know me or understand any of this, and proceeds to attack him. And, you know, before the fight can conclude, he sees Mob's shirt and he's like, that shirt is lame. And that comment was enough to send Mob over the edge to 100%. So I love that that's how we end this. I just love that through line of that shirt ends up being such a plot relevant thing in this regard. So, especially because Mob thought it was so cool because Teru bought the shirt for him too, so there's sentimentalness to it. But also, like, everyone else, like Arisu and Arigan, tried their best not to like shade him about the shirt. Now, like, you have someone like Dimple saying that, so I guess it is almost poetic too, considering like, what did Regan say last episode to try to be like, oh yeah, like, don't show that shirt off. Your jacket is kind of like your armor. It gives you higher defense points or something. So it feels poetic in that regard. But yeah, I'm excited to see where the next episode takes us with this. Once again, we're getting this in the middle of the season, so I don't know what the last half of this season is going to look like after episode 6, because I think that's going to be the conclusion of like this broccoli tree situation. We'll see what the aftermath of all this looks like. But like I said, we'll see what the next episode has in store for us. But really, that's all I wanted to talk about. Till the next time we meet, be happy, be safe, live life to the fullest, and enjoy it. Good day and goodbye.